The Rockefeller Foundation is the one who brought the hertz, like the whatever in the video that I have.
The frequency?
The frequency at certain hertz. They brought it, and they studied it, like, in the military to make sure it was terrible. And 6% of the population, it was supposed to, like, affect in a really bad way.
Do you want to get started on this?
Sure.
You want to watch the video first, or you want to, what do you want to do?
I can talk about it for a second. This dude was just doing some studies, and what they did was he took blood, and it was the same blood, and he had a Faraday cage or whatever, and he put one of the samples in the box. No sound, no anything was going to happen in there, nothing electromagnetic can get through it or whatever it is. I don't know. It's like supposed to be.
It was isolated completely.
Yeah, it's supposed to be isolated from everything. And then he took the other one and put it in an incubator with a speaker, and he played music or someone sang through it. They did a couple different tests to try it out or whatever, but when he diluted them afterwards, he got a drop of them, and they put it in this machine to see how many blood cells were alive. And the ones in the Faraday box, they were all basically dead. And the ones in the with the speaker and the frequency and music he was playing through it, there were so many live blood cells now, they like magnified that the thing couldn't even read it. It's like, you need to dilute this. There's too many live cells to count, basically.
Damn.
Which is crazy, because the only difference is one was silent, and it's the same exact blood. And they did a bunch of other tests. And,
What was this study called, sorry?
It was the one field.
One field study, okay.
Yeah.
Wild.
They did a bunch of
That's really interesting, dude.
studies. And then it got me to thinking, you know how, like, an opera singer will make certain frequencies and break, like, literally break glass?
Yeah.
I never really put, like, the connection together with that. So, like, frequencies can do so much, like, right in front of our face. A lot of the shit we talk about is alleged, like, that we know, but...
Even did you send me? Who sent me that thing with like the sand and the frequency makes this? If you do a different frequency, sorry, but go ahead. I didn't.
Yeah. So and the real like huge theory of how they build the pyramids instead of like giants carrying them is that they had like a frequency.
Different technology, frequency technology.
Yeah, and they can move heavy objects with frequency.
And I've seen some of those things.
Episode, I watched that. Yeah.
You know, some of those like things I see now where they have shit levitating between the two frequencies, like on a smaller scale. They could have figured out something.
No,
like
they could literally, even if it just picks up this much off the ground, right, and it just hovers, and then you could push it. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, so that's what the theory on the pyramids could be is that they use it frequency.
There's just so much evidence of frequency. Like.
I heard the pyramids are about that and like healing and shit.
Yeah, I heard they were never tombs too. I don't know how true that is.
So you were talking about the sand and what it can do to sand. So that's what he did with the blood. He was playing the frequency through it, and you could actually see the blood like change like the sand was, and it was like healing it and revitalizing it.
Damn.
He's like, it's like massaging your blood cells basically, and like a frequency.
So the Rife machine is real, probably.
Probably.
And everything being frequency based, it would be.
Dude, I gotta get a Royal.
And then you're talking about the sand and shit, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking about the pyramids. So one of the same guy that did the study, he went down into the pyramids, and he had chronic back pain for a long time, and he didn't know if he was going to actually do it because it was like, it's hard to get into the fucking pyramids and not do all this shit.
Right.
But he had a team carry all the stuff for him, and he got down there, and he started playing different frequencies. And you have to go down there with like people from Egypt or from wherever they're at, like a guide. You know, you can't just like go into the fucking pyramid. It has to be like a government official or somebody weird like that. And he started playing these sounds in the sand. He put sand on the sarcophagus, and he would play a frequency, and it started changing the sand like through the pyramid, and it was changing it into like ancient Egyptian
like the acoustics of the room, you think? Like maybe the room was built as a way to have.
And they have like an exit like chamber on both sides, and it's like just like the old churches, how they had the steeples that went way up, where people we were talking about would meditate and do all this shit in.
Yeah, like the pyramids had walls that bounced frequencies, is what they found out in some of these studies.
Yeah, and they learned about there's like 9 different frequencies or something.
I like that idea. Go ahead, sir.
And when he would play different frequencies, the sand would change into different hieroglyphs that meant different things.
Really?
In the fucking pyramids.
Damn, that's pretty wild, because I have seen them change in like different shapes depending on frequency. So if you had like, man, because like what if you play a certain frequency with certain acoustics in a certain room, you maybe could change it into whatever you wanted, dude. You could, oh man.
And he said the like
That's
guide
really cool.
was like, what the fuck? He's like, how are you doing that?
Whoa.
And he just picked up like the sand and threw it on the thing, like on the whatever sarcophagus is. I'm thinking it's like the top of the burial thing, but they looked up what the different things meant, and it went along with like frequency. Like one was like harmony, one was something else. Like the things that would appear when he played certain frequencies. So like they knew. They had to have known.
Right. That's a point.
Yeah.
Man, what could you do with frequency?
Everything. Like really, like so much.
I mean, based on last week, everything
You can make a
change
weapon out
the
of it.
world with
If you can
They already have.
yeah, if you can
weaponized
break glass
frequencies.
with a
Harp,
human
dude.
voice. But you can make like crazy. I mean, I'm sure they have, but you can.
Dude, HARP is
definitely-
crazy. They send frequency into the ionosphere
I mean,
to then make it fucking cause earthquakes.
on a
That
much
is
on
wild,
a much smaller
dude.
scale, concerts and stuff. They use frequencies
Yeah.
to.
Travis Scott is that guy, right?
Yeah,
that got
that's
everybody
one
to
of
fight
them,
and
yep.
shit. But people died at that shit, right?
Yeah, people die in these things. Yeah,
Wild.
or they faint, and you could
Just get trampled or whatever. And
Yeah.
end up dying from that.
Yeah, I want to look more into the fucking that dude playing those frequencies down there and see what.
Damn.
Cause I just got a basic understanding of it, pretty much. But it intrigued me.
You want to pull the video now, or?
Yeah, and then this goes into the same thing. It's called the devil's frequency or something along those lines.
Let's see it.
Is called the devil's interval in musicology. That when you play 741 with 528, it creates such an annoying and dissonant energy, diseasing, stressful, that if you continue to listen to it, you could die. They have held the secret knowledge by which the pyramids were constructed based on the math. All of the universe is constructed according to these 9 tones. They knew about them. In fact, they instituted. In fact, it was the Rockefeller Foundation in 1939 that instituted the world's standard tuning. The Western world tunes to a 440 hertz frequency. That when you tune your instrument to that, the F sharp note is 741. Precisely. Not 7.41.1 or 0.2, it's 741, which meant that there was a clear, scientifically researched intent, and indeed that's exactly what happened. The 741 A440 link came out of military research in the 1930s to induce psychosocial stress and dis-ease to the max. It was selected that A440 would be the standard tuning for the Western world. In fact, quote, mass hysteria, end quote, could be induced by instituting that frequency. And now you begin to explain why you went from the era of Frank Sinatra, where women would mostly swoon over Frank. Suddenly, Elvis Presley, rioting began. It was scientifically determined for military acoustic warfare research that if you simply used A440 standard tuning, that you could engage about 6% of the population, perhaps, to actually go into this kind of crisis, into this hysteria. And that those people then, especially if they were televised and they were promoted and broadcast, could potentially affect a social virtually British invasion. Now you begin to reconcile what happened. This information is all in the book of 528.
As we reflect on the journey through these experiments and discussions,
So, if only 6%, like, that's pretty wild.
And you wouldn't know which 6%.
No.
So you take 6% of a concert room and turn them into like.
But that would be enough to cause hysteria,
yeah.
though. And if you're in a certain that's probably why when these people die and that shit happens, it's going to be because more than 6% of the concert is probably, you know what I mean? Imagine if you get unlucky and it's like 20%.
And people that go
like,
to these concerts are already probably attuned to what they're doing, like
oh,
with
because they're
that
already listening
music.
to the music.
They've already been into it.
So probably hide-ins more than 6%.
About to never listen to music again, dude.
I literally said that last week, and it's so hard because I love so many like different versions
I already
of
don't
music.
listen to music.
And
Yeah,
but-
they were saying it's like just as important as
Still
like
do
your
sometimes.
diet and like your exercise, like not like the sounds that you take in, like the
Yep.
sonics around you, basically.
It is
I
wild
try
to
listening
think
to
about.
only like good frequency, like.
And why would they take this
vibrations.
one frequency and why would they make it for the Western world and tune everything to that?
To the devil frequency
Yeah.
is what they said, right?
Mm-hmm.
The devil interval or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like you can see when you play this through the blood cell, it makes it like abnormal, like makes it really ugly, nasty. Like it like connects these things together, bro, and like it just looks like not normal. But when you play like good frequency, you can see the vibration, like the round, like everything's geometrical.
It probably looks like chaos on the first one, right? Just like
It just looks ugly and
chaos.
shit. It's in that video. I would recommend looking up the One Field Project and shit if people are interested in this. I'm gonna look more into it, but
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely going to be more to come on this.
it was.